Ming and I started together at the company about 2.5 years ago. And we both have, each of us have over 25 years in supply chain and logistics experience. And our role is to take what we've been doing in supply chain around the world, but enhance it even more. And we came up with, so Ming runs the product. So he builds the product, Supply Chain Orchestrator, and I manage go-to-market. We both have global responsibility. We fly all around the world all the time. And I think success for us here today, and we had like 70 people signed up, so I think the lunch had a lot to do with it. But what we're going to go over today is we're going to go over a higher level of Supply Chain Orchestrator, go into business use cases. Where are we using it so that, just like right here, it's perfect, right? We have different, we have public sector, we have the telecom, and we have retail manufacturing. So it's exactly what we were hoping. We have a nice cross-section, and that's the beauty. If I just give a little bit of background of InterSystems, for some of you that you're not so new to InterSystems, just hang tight for like a minute. But InterSystems is a data management software company. We do just over $1 billion in revenue. We are privately held, as you know, Terry Reagan, right? He's been here for the last couple of days. We are still privately held. We'll continue to be privately held. And we're headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. So we have thousands of customers in 80 countries around the world. And we're almost in every industry and every sector. And I should show that. Because I'm talking without notes. I'll go back to the agenda. So we are like backs in every sector, every industry, and our specialty is driving mission critical solutions. So we're all about the solutions, and that's why Ming and I get excited to coming out and meeting you. And that's where I go back to my point. A win for us is that you simply are more interested in Supply Chain Orchestrator. And then we love it if you say, hey, you know what? Why don't you fly out no matter where? Netherlands, it doesn't matter where. We do it all the time. We just came back from Japan. And we talk about what we can do from a business case standpoint. So mission critical solutions. And we do that by unifying disparate data, unstructured, structured, from any data source, any complex data source, internal to the company or external to the company. So since we're in supply chain, we're talking about the entire value stream inside and outside the company. And then we couple it with our decision intelligence technology to optimize business outcomes. And that's what we're going to show you in the next few slides. And we'd like to leave a little bit of time for Q&A too. So we have 37 minutes, so we're gonna move ahead. So market positioning, we just put a few slides in just to be able to say that Gartner does recognize us. We work very closely with Gartner, with many of the analysts, actually around the world. And there's a quote that they put in here that 75% of global enterprises will apply decision intelligence practices for logging decisions for further analysis. That's a pretty bold statement, 75% of all global enterprises by 2026. And we like to say, which we're going to show you today, that we're actually ahead of where Gartner is going, is that we do more than just log the ability to make a decision. We help with prescriptive insights, because we've been saying to Gartner for a long time that predictive insights is okay, but prescriptive is better. So let our technology, like you heard Scott, talk about where we can leverage AI in so many different ways. We can even, which we're going to show you how we're leveraging GenAI to help us. But just the fundamentals of using Supply Chain Orchestrator, you will see what we can do as we mature. So Market Guide, in June of last year, they recognized the Supply Chain Orchestrator as a decision intelligence and analytics supply chain data platform. And I just talked to Gartner on Friday last week, which is interesting. I won't go into a lot of this, but they're changing the hype cycle. In September, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but we'll just say it's being changed. And it's interesting how they're going to focus more on how decisions if companies can help enhance decisions to the line of business to build better confidence. Because AI models can be helpful, but if the line of business doesn't have faith in what it's stating, then they won't use the decisions that come from it. And that's exactly where we've already predicted that, so that's where we're ahead of the game. You're going to see where we assist the line of business, enabling them to feel more comfortable, have confidence in the decisions. So the Supply Chain Orchestrator, I literally just have a few slides. So I hope you can take some time after this session. Ming's going to go into a deeper dive from a product standpoint of what's behind this. I'm going to concentrate more on, yes, what is Supply Chain Orchestrator, but how are we using Supply Chain Orchestrator across verticals? And the differentiation that we have and we continue to have in the market today is that our product has 4 embedded technologies, and they work together as needed. So on the upper left is consistent data. So we harmonize and we normalize disparate data, just like I said in the beginning. We're doing that in real time so that we create accurate real-time data to be able to then use it for other types of, obviously, analytics. We certainly know that AI needs what we call clean, accurate data. So that's one piece of the puzzle. On the lower left is real-time data and analytics. So what we mean by real-time is that our second technology allows us to bring the data in and ingest it and use it only when needed, so on demand. It's very important that when we get into, let's say, certain verticals, certain customers, certain use cases where you need to be bringing in millions of sets of data, you certainly don't want to be constantly warehousing it like a data lake or a data warehouse, because it becomes so costly as you scale. And who knows if the data a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now is even accurate. So by always having the most accurate data at rest on demand, we can ensure that the data is always accurate to then do something with it. Then sorry, I got ahead of myself. Intelligent processes is interoperability that we've heard so much about. So that's the third technology, is the ability to simulate business process flows and be able to use that data in a more productive way. And then the fourth embedded technology is the actual insights. That is where we're using our AI, which is the ML portion. We're going to talk about GenAI. We have our own BI if needed. But the reason why you're going to see some of the examples, like a Fortune 100 FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods company that ended up using us, is that because most companies, if you try to implement what I just said here, is 5 to 6 different products. This is one product. In fact, we were talking about that at breakfast, is because let's say that you don't want to turn on some of the functionality. We had a meeting last week where they were saying we need to find a vendor to bring in AI capabilities because we want to move to Copilot. Well, no, you don't. It's already in the product. So it's not yet another vendor, another implementation. No wonder why so many companies, it takes years to provide value when we can provide value in 6 weeks. And that's why Ming and I, being in the industry as long as we have, are so excited about what we can do. We're even more excited is because we utilize the data fabric architecture. We call it a smart data fabric architecture, which Ming is going to go into even further after this session of exactly what that is. And in fact, show of hands, number one, have you heard about Supply Chain Orchestrator? That's my first question. Wow, okay, better than I thought. And then the second is how about data fabric? Oh, that's even better. Okay, good. So Smart Data Fabric is the underlying architecture of what we do, and it allows us to be able to streamline and build our solutions in a very effective way. We now have put into it, like Scott was talking about, generative AI. So we have Copilot built in, LLM, and vector search. That's all wrapped into what we now offer with Supply Chain Orchestrator. So when we get to the Smart Data Fabric architecture, you're going to see where GenAI, vector search, and of course embedded Python we've had for a little bit, but it is now part of what we do on any type of business solution as needed. And if you see on the right-hand side, I'm going to go into some examples of where we use it for optimized fulfillment, optimized forecasting, control tower, end-to-end visibility, and then prescriptive insights. So if there's any questions, I mean, you can bring them up as I go along, but I'm now going to go into each of the use cases of how we're using it. So the first one, and just a quick high level, is that, look, Supply Chain Orchestrator, who knows, maybe it'll change 2 years from now, but right now, we're seeing the majority of the use cases, the majority of our go-to-market associated with 3 categories. We call them categories of use cases. So we concentrate and optimize fulfillment. If you notice that we don't say anything about verticals here, because you can have optimized fulfillment for a hospital provider, which we're going to show in here what we're doing. It doesn't matter. Optimized fulfillment across any vertical, anywhere in the world, will have optimized fulfillment for on time in full. The example we're going to show could be a medical procedure, a cesarean section. The wrong scalpels are available. We're going to show you. I mean, it can be something as that you can't have a procedure. You can't have the parts to make board games, right? On time in full is something that we do very well at helping to manage, as you can imagine, because of disruptions. Demand sensing and forecasting comes along with that. So we provide really the analytics, the AI and the ML to be able to help sense changes and forecast and demand to be able to optimize, and then supply chain orchestration. Some of our users want us to use as a control tower, for example. But we also are hearing, and we're getting much more, is around sustainability metrics. Some of the companies are saying, look, we have a sustainability metric. We don't need your help to create the KPI. We have it. We just don't have the ability to take all the disparate data in real time to generate the KPI. So it's amazing how we are working on a product, maybe in addition to Supply Chain Orchestrator for exactly that. But the point is, for now, we can handle that. To us, it's just another data point. So what we do is the data source, and I think this is a key point, and we had a couple questions over breakfast this morning, is that our data sources, like we said, are from any existing application, vendors, suppliers, 3PLs. It doesn't matter. It's a data source. Then it goes into what we call our intelligence decision data platform. And then based on your use case, because everyone in here would say, of course we have something around on time in full, but guaranteed your mathematical formula is going to be different from each other of what the portion of on time and in full and how is that represented. We have one company now that we're in proposal phase. Should be, actually, it's the fastest growing manufacturer of generic drugs in the UK. And they said, look, can you help us with the on-time portion of OTIF? And so what we do is once that data comes into our platform, we then, and I'm going to get into the examples. I know I keep saying that, but I'm going to get into the examples of what we're going to optimize. We can then push it back to those same systems. In fact, I'll show you the other example that's coming up is SAP. Or we can drive the outcome. We can be your control tower. We could be your decision point that goes to the line of business to help them optimize their decisions in real time, which we know with so much disruptions and manpower, productivity is huge. But it's helping those people on the line make the right decisions at the right time. So it's important to that, and there was a question that you and I were talking about this morning. It's important to know that all those systems, I should back up, it's a good point, is that we don't displace any of those systems. That's why we can do things so quickly. Typically, that's why Ming and I like flying all over the world, not just to enjoy different cultures, but to be able to help with business solutions is because we get on a whiteboard and we talk about how we can optimize what you have. And I'll give you an example of what we mean by that. So we don't displace, we complement all applications and all systems. If you want to use us as an application, which SPAR does in Europe, then sure, you can do that. But typically, we're your optimization good guys coming in to help you get something using our technology very quickly. So the first one is this Fortune 100 company, so the RFMCG. What I'm going to show you, and the reason why I just put the POV up is because you're going to see everything we did in 6 weeks, which is, I think, is quite impressive. If you look at the 3 bullet points, I think if I were to just simply summarize, is that the biggest challenge they have, and they do have SAP, they are moving to S/4HANA, and they do have all the other applications that we talked about for demand and supply, right? You know, Kinaxis and whatnot. But the point is they said the systems, they said that they've been trying this for years to be able to solve. The issue is that most systems, including SAP, they do very well in an unconstrained environment. And I think that's important. Unconstrained meaning it thinks that there's always the right labor at the right time, the right carriers at the right time, the right product at the right time. It thinks that the SKU is always available, even though it might be. We were working with Whole Foods, right? Whole Foods was saying their systems were thinking, oh yeah, we have the SKU, but guess what? They made commitments for the e-commerce. You know where the SKUs were? They were 6 states away, but they made all these commitments. They spent $1 million to fly in those SKUs to get it to be able to meet what they needed because they didn't want to create a customer satisfaction issue. Our system, what we do is that once we put it in, and it was all done manually, so they have all their supply planners manually executing those plans, manually extracting the data to be able to then optimize the forecast manually. And again, there's no inventory connectivity. So what we did within 6 weeks, using Supply Chain Orchestrator, is that we completely automated and automated the process. We improved the fill rate by 10 points, not 10%, but 10 points. So think about 10 points in a Fortune 100 company. That's a lot of dollar revenue. Improved replenishment frequency, automated the production plans to the line of business. And then we optimized, which is really interesting, this one here. Once we put it in the Supply Chain Orchestrator, we got to the point, because they had 3 repackaging facilities, is that we could actually optimize the TMS system for CO2 routing to have a sustainability impact, because we knew that based on the timeline to get the fulfillment where it needed to be in the optimized production plan, we could consider the carriers to be able to do it. So it's pretty cool. Think about that, 6 weeks. So, give you another example here, but before I leave, what I did is that I lit up what we did within the Smart Data Fabric architecture. So we took those different sources, their ERP system, obviously I said SAP, WMS, TMS, and the OMS were our sources. We then lit up certain parts of the data fabric that we used to then optimize the right-hand side, which I showed you. So what I'm going to do as I go forward, I'm going to show you some other examples, because really, you know, the point of what we're trying to do here today is really just give you the art of the possible of what you can do with Supply Chain Orchestrator. And so I'm not going to get into the data fabric afterwards. We can certainly go into it later if you want. But SPAR has been a long-time customer of ours. In fact, they received an Impact Award for everything that they've done with us. And this is really, they wanted to streamline and optimize their end-to-end fulfillment from ERP through point of sale. And so by using the technology, they were able to automate the optimized replenishment via real-time sensing of demand shifts at the store level and at the region level. And heavy users of the ML capability to be able to do that, along with, if you go back to the other company we were talking about, you know, sometimes I think, you know, we hear so much about AI, but sometimes you don't need to use AI. We ended up for that other solution, we just used our advanced modeling techniques that we already had within the solution. And as you know, to be able to really do a good ML model takes time, right? Takes a lot of time. But we significantly improved on-shelf availability, OSA. We significantly improved demand forecasting productivity and time to decision. Because there was so much confidence in the forecast, they eliminated the forecast group, redistributed the ability to help think in a more strategic way. That's pretty cool. And I think what is cool too is sometimes so data scientists, as we all know, right? Data scientists can work on the platform. The Supply Chain Orchestrator is built on Iris, which Ming's going to talk about. So in fact, it's a question that we can help answer because someone said, what if you're already on Iris? How do we go to Supply Chain Orchestrator? So I'm going to ask that question in front of you to Ming, and Ming can answer it at the very end. But they ended up using it, the data scientists, they built their own grocery replenishment application on our technology. Sorry, go ahead. What? I'm sorry. Yes, point of sale. Okay. Peltech is another one, right? So we've been using, in fact, last year, 2 years ago, we had a whole presentation on what Peltech is did because they're also a very long customer of ours. But the technology, again, the challenge was how do we integrate all of the OMS, the TMS, the robotics, to really along that entire supply chain that we've been talking about. They wanted to increase the efficiencies and then enable digital transformation. So they were on a 5-year digital transformation with us. We love that. So the other account that we're working with now is talking to us, how can we begin with a POV and then move through digital transformation over the next 3 years? And what we like a lot about InterSystems is that it's all about, like what Terry said, it's all about customer satisfaction. It's not just creating revenue for sake of revenue. It's doing it right. And so that's what we do. We do it right to make sure that whatever we've agreed to do is that we meet what we're looking to do and we do not impact any type of customer satisfaction. So achieve almost near perfect on time in full. That's almost unheard of to be able to do it. And so their CEO actually created a very nice video with us to promote that. Extremely happy. In fact, Ming and I, when we were in Japan, we visited. They have literally 24/7 unmanned distribution centers. So all of it's completely robotics. During COVID-19 at its peak, they had one person in this massive warehouse that was completely automated through our technology to be able to meet fulfillment from the inbound side through distribution, through carrier, loading in an optimized way, because why ship out something 60% utilized if it could be more like 90, and then be able to meet almost near perfect 100% on time full. So again, just another example. What I did at the top is I said, look, this was digital transformation with ML-driven replenishment. The other one was optimization through repackaging, production, planning optimization. So again, maybe specific, I may be touching on something that you're thinking about. We'll see, we still have a few more to go. This one here this is a common across all regions. This is really healthcare network, inventory visibility, and optimization. And the reason why we didn't show exactly who the customer is because Ming and I were thinking about this. We're dealing with so many healthcare providers, whether it's in APAC, whether it's in Europe. Mostly interesting enough, APAC in Europe is, how can we show an optimized inventory across the network? And that's what we're seeing here is that these are the challenges from, in fact, there's the one chief operating officer that we're working with in the UK, and it's the largest privately held hospital network in the UK, but some of these challenges were her challenges that were the same for other business leader challenges in the healthcare field, but it was around limited visibility or little visibility into actual supply, utilization, usage, patterns, and inventory. Because a lot of it is how do we optimize inventory to be able to reduce working capital and to be able to meet demand in the most optimal way. Lack of alignment between demand and proper inventory levels, right? So supply and demand optimization, causing excessive inventory. We're seeing that. We were just talking to, there's a consortium, there's like 12 distributors in Japan that handles all supplies for all hospitals in Japan. So we're working with a few of those on helping them. The biggest issue they have as a government in Japan is products expiring. So they've expired, can't be used, have to be thrown out. But why do that? Why can't we help manage that so you never, maybe never is what, you never get to never, but significantly limit the supplies that are needed so that they don't have to be thrown out because they've expired. I mean, even down to the FMCG company, we're doing the same thing. You would think that SAP would cover it. Sorry if it seems like I'm bashing on SAP, but we work with them so much. But just shelf availability, expectancy on a. I can't tell you what the product is because then you know who it is. But the point is that shelf life is across all verticals, and it's something that we also do very well. Why? Because we're not a data lake or a data warehouse. We know when that particular SKU should be used first, so it eliminates the need to have to throw it away. So clinical variation in specialty areas was the big one, which really comes down. We're going to show you an example, which I think is quite interesting, how we help with a lot of like McKesson's and whatnot on medical devices that are then used in surgeries. But the key benefits you can just imagine that we're seeing is the visibility, stock optimization. They wanted senior management to have a control tower that was accurate so that they had the ability to manage. Think about, you're managing 32 hospitals. Your chief supply chain officer wants to know what's going on, not at 1, 2, 3, 5 hospitals. They want to know how all 32 hospitals are doing, and then which ones need to be improved. So we provide that. Optimized demand forecasting, purchasing decisions, obviously really big in the healthcare industry, right? The big purchasing, right? That's taking place. Improved cost management. And consistent data, but I think the big one to me is actionable insights, doing something with the data. And we're going to show you that. So this is something that it is what we're doing, but it is a little bit of the art of the possible, because I'm going to show you what we're doing when we get into the co-pilot and prescriptive insights behind it. But we chose healthcare providers because there's 3 pieces of the puzzle that we can impact extremely quickly, like I just said on the previous slide that I showed you, is that so up here, you see inventory, you see scheduled procedures, and you see incoming supplies. So I'm going to concentrate on each one of those. So selected procedures, so cesarean section. We're identifying ahead, and I'm not going to go through the whole demo because we knew, as we were practicing this, we will run out of time. So what we're showing here is that we know, based on the data coming in, all of the scheduled surgeries, procedures that are going to be taking place across the hospitals. We've identified, we predicted, so June 15th is in the future, that we will not, or that hospital, that particular surgical staff are not going to provide those cesarean sections. Why? Because they didn't have the scalpels that the surgeons wanted. Very, very particular to a scalpel that they want to perform a procedure. We know that that is going to be a particular issue. So to us, we've identified the issue ahead of time proactively. And then we're going to be able, which I'll show you in a minute as I play this out, is that what we can do from a prescriptive insight capability. So now I'm moving over to inventory. So much of what I said to you in a couple slides ago is inventory is a big issue. How do we optimize inventory? And so what we're going through here is that we know that gauze is going to be an upcoming issue because we're not going to have the amount of supply needed to be able to meet. In this case, it's going to be some operational, some medical procedure that's needed. But if you're in manufacturing like retail manufacturing, maybe it's not gauze, but it's a particular item meant to put into production. It's the same concept. It's the same thing. If it's not gauze, then it's some sort of assembly part that's going in. It could be discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing, does not matter. It is the point of not having the right product at the right time, but being able to balance it in a way so that you can reduce your working capital and you always have the product that you need. So again, we're being prescriptive in here. We know when there's going to be an issue. So the control tower is going to be able to give the ability to know that there's an issue. This one here is, we're now into incoming supplies. So very similar. of where we're saying that there is going to be an issue, but we know where the issues are going to be down to the provider. So is it Cardinal Health? Is it Universal Medical? Is it, where, in this one here is saying Osborne Medical Supply is going to have a supply of late products, of where we would then be able to dip further into which SKUs, which products are going to be late from that particular provider. One of the companies that we're working for that currently we're in a POV to do in the UK is interesting that that's where they want to focus. They want to know through a control tower who all the providers, who are not providing us the service levels that is needed. And the reason why it's difficult for them to come up with a number now is because they have several enterprise systems, many applications. They don't have the ability to be able to integrate all that disparate data in real time. So a lot of the information is simply not there, number one, and is certainly not in the format to be able to figure out what is happening to be able to improve, so that they're hoping to get into quarterly business reviews, bring those providers and those suppliers in and start talking about with facts what's not going well. So the prescriptive insights, like I just mentioned, this is an example, and we have a demo that we can show you. So if you go over for our table, supply chain, we can show you further here, but prescriptive insights to us is so much. So we changed this. We did have FMCG. We moved this to a healthcare example, but it's everything that I just said. And we've come up with different options that the system has come up with. It says there's 3 options to be able to help deal with this issue of a serious customer satisfaction concern and a contract violation penalty because of an unexpected high demand for products in a particular region. So it doesn't really matter, what it's going to be. This is a particular service level issue that we've identified. The system has come up with 3 options, but it chose the recommended one. Now, where Gartner's going to be emphasizing, and I said earlier in the presentation, where I think we were ahead of the market, is that, let's say that you're in the line of business and you get that, go with option A. What if you want to challenge option A? What if you say, you know what? I'm really not a believer of how this came up with it, because you're in the line of business, you've been doing this for 25 years. So what we've done is that we've attached, because remember earlier I was talking about GenAI? So now what you can do is that you can have with the Copilot, you can challenge that decision to create credibility around the decision, a confidence level by the line of business. So the user, the line of business, can say, why was option A recommended? And it will go into all of the reasoning behind in a way that the line of business will be able to understand. And you can continue down. Let's say you don't even believe that answer, and you want to continue down. You can continue down. But the point is simply, we feel confident that option A is the right decision, but we want to be able to arm the line of business with confidence that it was the right decision. So I'm just going to give you there's a few more slides, and then I'm going to open it up for conversation here. But partners, we have partners here now. We have existing partners, several of you. So we like partners. We like working with you and taking our technology and either embedding it in your technology, which UST did. In fact, UST also received an Impact Award. They've taken 2 of their products and they've embedded 2 of their products in our technology, Supply Chain Orchestrator. This one happens to be, it's called Supply Chain Optimization as a Service. And they're one of the first companies to really start moving over. They're a systems integrator. They're about $2 billion. They've been working with us for about 1.5 years. And they've in about 2 months, was it, that we ended up integrating their product on Supply Chain Orchestrator to be able to do this across 7 different use cases. I'm not going to go into the detail, but I will show it. And look what this, I just had a discussion around unconstrained to constrained environment. Well, they're also focusing on, and it means a lot to you, is this unconstrained to constrained environment to be able to optimize. They use us for the optimization library. They use us because of our ability of having embedded Python, the algorithms, the AI, and the ML capability they've got, which I'll show you in a second here, is they have the SAP experience. So they've got that front end, but they want to use us as the optimization engine. So once we optimize with their end customer, with their product embedded with our technology, they can do so much more. And I won't get into the detail, but these are the 7 different types of use cases that they address. Inventory optimization happens to be where they used it at Fender, which is pretty cool because if you're into guitars, these obviously Fender's high-end guitar manufacturer around the world is using UST Optim to optimize production line balancing, to improve your safety stock levels, which ultimately improves your inventory positioning. So again, the point of what Ming and I wanted to do with this presentation, we have about 5.5 minutes. I wanted to leave 5 minutes to be able to open up for Q&A. And I wanted to put Ming on the spot on one question. But the second one is the UST Omni is a visibility platform. And they compete against like 4Kites, Project 44, and being able to know exactly any type of geopolitical disruption anywhere in the world at any point with any product, whether it's in the air, in a container, LTL, full truckload. But what they couldn't do, and they didn't want to spend the $8 million to do it, and they didn't want to take the full year to do it, is why don't we just take a couple months and we use your AI-based decision-making to help us do that. So they built their product on our product to be able to get the right-hand side. So they go to market with that, and we're okay with that. The more they sell, the better off we are. So key takeaways. A supercharged problem solving is what we call it, with data fabrics and GenAI leveraged within Supply Chain Orchestrator. So you're getting quite a bit within that product. Accelerated business value to line of business with decision intelligence. And then lastly, it's differentiated because why? Because we have out-of-the-box data integration, ingestion, interoperability, AI, ML, analytics, and Gen AI as one product. Okay, that's it. Thank you. So, at 3.5 minutes, but I will ask this question real quick and open it up because many of you asked me during breakfast and last night during demo and drinks, if you're already using Iris and you want to go to Supply Chain Orchestrator, is that a big uplift? Do we have to get rid of systems to do that?
Yeah, if you already, is it on? I'll just speak loud enough, I guess. Yeah, so Iris is it's a foundation for Supply Chain Orchestrator. So if you have any application already building on that, the same works inside Supply Chain Orchestrator as well. So you don't have to rework what you have in place. And you can gradually take on new features the orchestrator got to offer, add it to your existing solutions.
Great, thank you, Ming. Any other questions that Ming and I can help answer? And again, if you have time, immediately after 15 minutes, we're going to start up the next session. It's going to continue to talk about Supply Chain Orchestrator, but a deeper dive into the technology and the roadmap of some of what we have on the journey. Yes?
I'm sure we all have ERP systems running in production. You talked a little bit about how Supply Chain Orchestrator complements ERP system. Can you just talk a little bit more in detail about how that would be?
Yeah, so if we use that FMCG example that I gave, and it's true really anywhere. So again, ERP systems, first of all, if you're unique where you have just one ERP system in your company, typically it's never true. You might have 10, 20, 35 different ERP systems. So they just don't have all the data to be able to bring it together. So if you're in a particular environment, SAP can only do so much because it doesn't have the data from all the other systems that are related or that's needed. Plus, again, when I talked about the whole unconstrained to constrained environment, is that if they love working in an unconstrained environment, thinking that you have everything, think about how SAP would have to go to the WMS system, the TMS system, the OMS system, the labor management system, because is there really labor to be able to move the product in the warehouse? So, but we can bring all that together, and we do that. So we then can optimize where those ERP systems can't optimize, and then we then can push it back into that ERP system in an optimized way very quickly. And it's and like I said, we enjoy doing this so much because, again, it's a fun time. You know, we whiteboard something out, and we're not saying that, look, you know, our solution is going to have to eliminate 5 of your products. It's not the case. Okay. Well, thank you very much. The presentation will be online to be able to pull down. If you would like to talk to Ming and I at any point, just please send us an email. We'd love to even stop out to talk to you and whiteboard out a solution using Supply Chain Orchestrator. Thank you.